Welcome to Real Estate 101. If you've ever Googled how to buy a house without going broke, you're in the right place. Whether you're a beginner or just exploring, this training will give you the tools and confidence to get started. Learn actionable strategies, avoid mistakes, and start building wealth today. Let's turn your real estate goals into reality.
Welcome to REI Pro Talk, where real estate investors turn for the latest news, tips, and tricks from the real in the trenches pros. Tune in to hear Chris Goff, the nation's premier real estate investing powerhouse. Join up with other top pros in the investing world as they cover every topic. No fluff, no filler, no holds barred. All you need to know from start to paycheck.
Number one, why invest in real estate? A lot of people talk about, is this a good time? You definitely need to hear people that are in the business, that do it full time, that are out there, they see what's going on. And we're going to share with you our opinion on this. How do you set up a business? What are those specific things that you do? What is required? What is kind of just a shiny dangling object out there maybe you don't need yet? We're going to talk about real estate investing strategies, exit strategies. I'm going to give you some of our top marketing strategies and our best tips to getting started. My name's Chris Goff. I started out as an airline mechanic before chasing my passion for real estate. I've since spent years in the trenches, mastering strategies and helping others build wealth along the way. You can always learn more about me. Download my free best-selling book on my website, chrisgoffrealestate.com. We're lucky to have the awesome Bo Manry with us today. Bo is the co-founder of REI Pro Software, a tool so brilliant it might just make you question your life choices. He's here to share his real estate expertise and some game-changing insights. So welcome, Bo.
Man, what an intro. Thanks. Yeah.
You like that?
I did. I like that. Gosh, I don't even know if I can follow that up, but yeah, I am Bo Manry, one of the co-founders here at REI Pro. I've been a business entrepreneur since 1997, building enterprise class systems, whether it be online, offline, and been passionate about software development most of my career. Started real estate investing in 2007, wanted to expand my portfolio, and that's how I got into real estate. I've been loving real estate ever since. Obviously, even 2014, started REI Pro with Chris to just further help people that are getting into real estate have the right tools to do the job so they don't stumble and fall and trial and error. And so we've been doing this and being very passionate about it. So welcome tonight. And hopefully you guys that are just getting started are going to learn a lot, get started out in the right way. And if you've been in real estate for a while, probably pick up some tips and tricks from us that'll help you in that next venture that you're doing.
Yeah, well, thanks, Bo. Hey, you've heard me say this a million times. The most important thing about getting started in real estate is to start right. We see so many people that just start wrong. Like you don't even know it's wrong until like 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, and you're like, where am I going? Like, what's going on here? So we're not going to hold anything back. Please ask us any kind of questions to help you, maybe start, or maybe you've been in real estate, maybe you've done a few deals, and maybe you're just picking up some more tips and strategies to kind of help further that career. That's what we're here for. So why in the heck real estate investing? I'm going to give you just some reasons that I see. I didn't see this when I got started. I think my first reason to get in real estate was I knew my job was only going to take me so far financially. And I tell you, I love my job. I was an airline mechanic. I loved it. It was my dream job as a kid, but I knew I was going to get maxed out. I would have to change careers basically, or become a pilot or do something different to stay around planes. The very first thing is make more money. Obviously, real estate provides multiple paths to financial success. You can earn a steady passive income through either rentals, you could benefit from property appreciation, you could build wealth over time. Plus, strategies like wholesaling, creative financing are going to open doors to quick cash and unique investment opportunities, even with little upfront money. We get asked so many times, how do I get started without money or little money? I got started with, I will say, no money, because I didn't really have any money. And so I know what that feels like to have to do whatever it takes to get out there to make this happen. But the motivator for me And the only thing that I knew is that you could make more money. And that was something I wanted to learn. Now, some of you may be thinking you want to leave your job or maybe start this as a part-time business. It means really taking control of your time. Time is the only thing in the world you can't buy. So it's maybe pursuing your passions. That's going to help create that unlimited growth. Instead of working for someone else, you invest in yourself, gaining independence and the chance to shape your future on your terms. Bo and I, this is what I call, we've been self-unemployed for decades, right, Bo? So that's just what I
Good
call
way
it.
to put. That's a good way to put it.
Undervalued markets. If you live in maybe one of these particular markets, this is going to offer a lower entry cost with high potential returns. And it's a very intelligent way to kind of benefit from the rising demand and increasing property values with very low risk. Maybe owning property helps you grow wealth in two simple ways. First, maybe the value of your home can go up over time. Second, if the tenant is paying down your mortgage, you owe less and own more of that real estate. These two things add up to give you more financial power to build even more wealth. Portfolio diversification. If you're not in real estate, I kind of say that you should be investing in real estate because general real estate has stability and growth potential. Unlike stocks and bonds, real estate can generate a steady income and often grows in value over time. And by adding real estate, you aren't putting all of your money in one basket, which is going to help reduce risk. It's going to create more balance and a stronger portfolio. Also, if you're in real estate, diversifying the types of properties that you invest in, as well as the strategies. Less competition. High interest rates have pushed many people and real estate agents out of the market, which means less competition right now. But there are some smart strategies that work in today's market. We're going to share these with you during this presentation. Real estate is a great way to grow wealth, but I think, especially people that I work with on a personal level, a lot of them are doing it to leave that legacy, to leave that family. Maybe their kids can get involved as they get older. Maybe some of my students do it to start charities at the same time. So real estate could do a lot of different things for you to help build that legacy. You could have tenants pay down rent each month. You could get lump sums of cash through wholesaling, rehabbing, or maybe seller financing lease options. You can make money up front each month and over time with the sale of the property. And it really doesn't matter if it's a mobile home, condo, townhome, single family home, or a commercial building. It's all real estate as well as vacant land. Plus, property values often increase over the years, adding even more growth to your investment. So with real estate, you have flexible ways to earn and create stability for the future. You're not just investing, you're really building something for those people that be your kids, be your spouse, be your parents, whoever that may be for. And I'm not just talking about investing like we did 25 years ago. Save money, get a loan, and purchase a property. This old school idea takes way too long and it costs too much money. And Bo, you've heard me say this in live presentations, these types of trainings, they don't make any more land, right? So,
Right.
and I'm not saying just go buy land, but real estate, land and everything put on that land is real estate, and they don't make any more of it. Right. So it's got to be a great long term. And it's hard for a lot of us to see these things, especially when I got started in the very late 90s. We thought 2003, 2004 was like, oh, we're never going to get to that high point again. And gosh, how wrong I was about that. And we thought costs were high. We thought the cost of homes were high. We thought everything was high back then. Look what people are saying today, exact same thing. All right, so business setup, I like teaching in this logical way of how we do things, but it's not 100%. If you're just getting started, the very first thing you generally do is come up with a company name. I will tell you this is becoming harder and harder because, all the names that you probably come up with, somebody's already taken the idea or the domain name is already gone. So sometimes we have to be creative with this. Just a few ideas that I give people is don't use your name, because what happens if you do build this up in the next 10, 15 years, so you decide to sell it, you don't want your name as part of that name. A lot of people use the word realty I don't like the word realty because I think a lot of people associate that with being an agent. So investing and being an agent are two different worlds. It's like a doctor and a dentist. They're both doctors, but they do two different things. So come up with something creative. Obviously, domain name would be great as well. Next, we're going to set up a business entity. There are various online companies that do this for you. You can obviously do it yourself as well. I usually recommend just going through companies like LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer, Busy, and Zen something is out there as well. Some big ones out there that can help you get the paperwork correct the first time. Obviously, there's a cost to doing this. There's a cost for the Secretary of State fee, and we need to get this set up. Now, generally, and I'm not an accountant. I would obviously recommend you seeing an accountant if you have specific situations or needs or where you're at today. But generally, an LLC is going to be a very common business entity to set up for somebody getting into this side of the business. And keep in mind, down the road, you may end up setting up multiple of these LLCs, depending if you're holding on to properties, flipping properties. If you're not for sure, maybe based on your situation, then obviously get with an accountant can really help you out with this. Next is coming up with a logo design. All right, so we have a company name, logo design. Logos is that brand, right? So we're trying to build a brand, an image for people. So when they see it, they know who that is. You're going to put this on all your marketing, obviously your website, social media, etc. We're going to have a website. I'm okay with people not just building a full-blown out website. You may not get a lot of per se traffic that fills out a form on your website, but you'll get people to go to the website, maybe call. Right? So have your contact number. Usually I like phone numbers at the very top of these pages. Now, a landing page is like a one-page website. A lot of people call it squeeze pages as well. I'm okay if you start there. It's just having something online. It's almost like if you don't have something online, you're really not in business. And I know a lot of people and businesses use Facebook for this as well. I really like having something simple. There are many companies out there that can, obviously build a website. If you're not really good at this, you could hire people to do it, but keep your costs down. There's some affordable companies out there. I'll tell you a couple of different websites we use is Wix. We also use Lead Pages, which I really like as well. It's very simple. It doesn't have all the crazy tools, but you really don't need it for something like this. Set up your office, your phone, email. Where are you going to conduct business? Do you have an office in your home, number one, or do you have a quiet place in your home? You have to think about these things. Getting a phone number. I generally recommend getting at least a local area code. I know a lot of people have moved over the last 5 years. They're in different places and they keep their cell phone. I've kept my personal cell phone number as well, but for the business, you really want to have something local. People don't want to feel like you're some company in a different state trying to acquire their property. They want to, feel that you're local. Social media, basic social media stuff. To me, in my experience, and Bo, you feel free, you can jump in. For me, social media for real estate investing, it's something you need to do all the time. Just don't expect results in the beginning. This is something that you really have to lay the groundwork down and do it consistently over a period of time to where maybe you could see the results of that social media from posting. And obviously we have a lot of tools that you can help shortcut these posts that you make or help you do a video to get posted on there. I will share with you the social media places that I recommend to my personal students. Number one is YouTube. So people love videos, obviously, but they also have a community page that you can post images and things of that nature. I like Facebook. You could do Instagram and TikTok, depending if TikTok is still going to be around. And I'll throw a blog in there too, but do it consistently without maybe really expecting immediate results from it.
Well, a lot of that's also, you hear the term social proofing a lot.
Yeah.
People these days just kind of expect you to be out in at least one or more of these platforms, and they're just looking for legitimacy to back up, hey, I'm so and so, and this is what I do, and then they can find you on multiple platforms, and it just helps solidify your reputation. And a lot of times when you're out there, you're not necessarily being salesy in the social media. You're out there showing what you do. You may make comments on other people's posts and stuff, and it's just showing that you're actively engaged. Now you can do pay-per-click ads, you can do all of those things, but definitely having one or more of the social media these days is probably expected. And like you said, if you're going to do it, go ahead and be consistent with doing it. Don't just set it up and then kind of forget about it. I would say, get engaged and then get a little bit of training on it or hire somebody out to manage that for you as well.
Obviously, set up an REI Pro account. This is a tool Bo and I started we realized that data is important, but education is important. If you have all the data in the world, you don't understand how to use the data, then it really doesn't matter what data you have. But we've really wanted to pull in something that I feel is very important. That's understanding what those steps are. So we built the systems. Every company has systems. Otherwise, you're not in business, really. Put systems in REI Pro. So not only do you get the education, you get the systems and the data. And of course, when you add in the lead gen, the direct mail, the skip tracing abilities, the contract management pieces, and all the things that we put in there, it really is kind of a one-stop shop. I've heard people out there, Bo, that have said, do you need software? No, you can go do it. I'm going to tell you right now, you're competing against people like us. You're not going to win. Go set up an REI Pro account. You can learn more about us. We know we can help you with your investing. Go check us out at myreipro.com. Decide your strategies, marketing. We're actually going to talk about that. Review training videos. Really need to understand the strategy, the foundations of the strategies we're going to be talking about. I want you to become an expert at it. I want you to know it so well. I don't want you to be like some of those guys out there on YouTube that, they've done like 3 deals and now they're like selling a $200 home study course type of thing. Okay, we need to get past that stuff and all that nonsense that's around you and really understand the in-depth foundation of these strategies, the marketing, the systems that we actually implement in this business, real world stuff. This is important to me. All of my students really appreciate this, is really creating a schedule. So when you wake up tomorrow, you're not going, all right, what do I do? I'm excited. What do I do? I want you to just start putting a schedule, and it doesn't have to be a perfect schedule, but write down what you need to do and write down more things than you think you can get done, regardless if you work 40 or 50, 60 hours a week. Find the time to put in a few hours a week, but schedule those times and hold yourself accountable. Continue your education, obviously, and most importantly, you have to take action. The very first thing I want to talk about is, what are those real estate strategies to acquire property? Okay, because I want to break this down in so simple for people, because so many people are so confused. I know there was a lot of so's in that, but I see it every day. I hear it from my students when they come on board, and I'm going to break this down so simple. The very first strategy that you could acquire real estate, so you're looking for properties, obviously, to do something with. The very first strategy, this is where I started, this is where a lot of people have started, is what we call wholesaling. The second strategy, I call it rehabbing, but it's really cashing the seller out where you're buying the property. Lease options, or what we call rent to own. And probably the most popular strategy for 2025 is going to be seller financing. These are the only 4 strategies that you can acquire property with. There are numerous ways to wholesale a house. There's one way to rehab a house, but there's multiple exit strategies. There's 2 ways to lease option a house, and there's 30 ways to seller finance a house. At the end of the day, these are the only 4 ways that you can acquire property. We're going to eventually talk about what are those exit strategies if you got it one of these 4 ways. I just want you to understand the foundation of strategies and then go into REI Pro. We have an entire education center. We have the strategy guide that goes in more depth. These are free educational material for all of our members with REI Pro. These are not upsells or anything that we do when you become a member of REI Pro. So let's talk about this first strategy. Every strategy and picture that you see here are properties that we have done. Wholesaling real estate is nothing more than the business of locating properties and typically needing repairs, because when you buy something at wholesale, you're getting it at a bargain price. Then we're quickly passing that deal onto another buyer. Now, you're not buying the property first. You're actually selling the contract or assigning the interest of that piece of paper, right? All the four corners and everything on that piece of paper to somebody else for a fee. So I wanted to give everyone just kind of a general, and I know this is going to change. I know people are going to comment on this, but please this is a general potential profit because I want to set some expectations. Generally, it could be anywhere from 1 to 20,000 per deal. Could it be more? Absolutely. But it's not typical to do much more. And there are places that are very expensive. Sure, you could do more, but it's not going to be common. Next, we call rehabbing real estate. So this is where you are actually going to buy the house. It could be your money. It could be the bank's money. It could be private money. The end of the day, the seller's going to get one lump sum. You're buying it at a discount price, and then you're going to fix up the property. Now, there are many exit strategies with this, which we're going to talk about. General potential profit, anywhere between 20 and 100 grand. Again, depending on the deal, depending on where you live. Each deal can be different, but just setting some expectations here. Lease options. I call this controlling real estate because you never actually own it, which is pretty cool. Little to no money strategy as well. So a lease option is nothing more than a lease agreement combined with a purchase agreement. Through this lease option agreement, a buyer's going to lease the property and then has the right or option to purchase that property on or before the end of that agreement. There are two ways to actually do a lease option. The more popular way people call sandwich lease options, where you're going to stay in the middle. So you negotiate the terms with the seller. You then find a buyer that's looking to lease option. You think about this is a great strategy right now because there's a lot of properties that are sitting on the market. And when they don't sell, the first thing the seller does is maybe we need to rent it, but they really want to sell it. The buyer side of this, I want you to think of the buyer side. You have qualified buyers not buying right now due to high interest rates, correct? You're going to find a lot of lease option buyers that want to get into the house that they want today, but they are waiting for the interest rates to come down. A lease option may be that perfect fit for those buyers. Potential profit anywhere between 2 and 50,000. And again, repeat this depending on the deal and where you live. And I feel the most popular strategy for a while, especially 2025, is seller financing, where you're buying the property, but you're not going to a bank to qualify, beg for a loan, put down 20% and own it. So we're going to create the paperwork to do this with the actual owner. There are numerous ways to seller finance a house. People say, okay, there's sub-twos, there's wraparounds, there's subordination, substitution of collateral. There are a lot of ways to seller finance a property. But at the end of the day, to me, it's all seller financing. Really, profit potential is 10,000 and really unlimited because you become the bank. In most, I would say small cities, the largest buildings in small cities are banks. And banks make a lot of money. They make a lot of money by loaning you and me money because they make interest. You want to become that bank, and you do this with real estate. But to me, you're really looking for this in order to implement those 4 strategies, one of those 4 or multiple strategies. It's what I call situations. People talk about, hey, Chris, I got to go find a property. And I'm like, no, you need to find a situation, right? I get it. At the end of the day, it's a piece of real estate, right, that we're talking about. But it's really about the owner's personal situation that plays this pivotal role in their decision to sell. Financial difficulties, debts, job loss, inability to keep up with the mortgage payments. It's those things that we all go through. You never expect things to happen, but things happen. And it really doesn't matter what the economy's doing. It doesn't matter if it's a seller's market, a buyer's market. Problems happen all the time. There are people that have problems that live on your street right now. And you really would never know about it because people don't promote it. They don't run out of their house and say, just want to let all my neighbors know that I'm behind on payments. Like, nobody does that. Your job is to find these situations. Not only does it help this particular person through this situation, because usually a home is someone's largest debt. And if you can solve that problem, not only are you going to help somebody, you're going to make a lot of money doing it. I say this: situation equals strategy. I want you to ask yourself these three questions. Will the owner sell? Number one, because a lot of properties that we market to are what we call off-market properties. They're not listed on the MLS. How much will the owner sell it for? So that helps us gauge where that price needs to be. And last is, how will the owner sell it? An owner doesn't have to sell it for cash, meaning get paid off in one lump sum. Maybe we can sell it or buy it in a way that is on paper, like a lease option or maybe a seller finance. And that's what we call terms. How much down, how much a month, and how long can we do it for? I want you to think about this for a second. Most people finance a vehicle. You put a down payment, or it could be zero down. You make monthly payments. And then once you pay it off 5, 7, 8 years down the road, you finally get the title to the car. Like you don't even own the car until you actually have the title to that car. $40,000 vehicle ended up costing $60,000 to buy it when you calculate all the payments. The house you live in, if you live in it for 30 years, you're going to pay 3 times the loan value. We know this going in, that it's going to cost us more money, even if you're qualified. But why do we do it? Because we don't have the cash to buy it in one lump sum. Most people in America buy almost everything on terms, if you think about it. How much down, how much a month, and how long can we do it for? This should be a common way to buy things, especially, but real estate is kind of one of those, like, what's a seller finance? How does that work? A lease option? What? You would think this would be common in real estate. I want you to become a master of this stuff. It's already something that we do almost every single day, is pay interest on things. This is obviously owner motivation. I'm going to give you a test. I want to do this, never done it, but I want you to think about this for a second. If you find a property, in this example, it's a vacant, distressed property that needs a lot of repairs. The owner prefers to be cashed out, be done with the problem, get rid of the burden. It's costing them money. It's costing taxes, whatever it may be. I want you to think about what strategies actually apply to that. How could you acquire this property? The very first thing you should be thinking is wholesaling. Remember, we're going to buy the property at bargain prices at a wholesale deal, right? Next, you could be that buyer, the person that actually buys the property and then fixes the property up and does something with it. But you also could sell or finance this. A lot of people don't think, if you find a distressed property, and this is kind of really distressed, but you find a distressed property, the first thing we think, oh, I got to get hard money. I got to get private money. I got to go to my bank, or I need all the cash. Well, you could potentially sell or finance this, and you don't even have to do it long term. You could actually do this short term. And a lot of times you can get in with very low down with the owner. Hey, Mrs. Owner, I can give you 5,000 down, 500 a month. Let's do it for 12 months, and then I'm going to cash you out. That gives you time to get into the deal, fix up the property, maybe refinance it, or even sell the property, and then you could cash the owner out. So it's another great strategy. These are the 3 strategies you should be thinking of when you see a property, and especially the situation that we've been talking about. So here you have a nice home in a nice neighborhood, completely updated. The owner needs to sell because they're moving out of state and wants full price. Generally in this, can you wholesale it? Do you think the owner's going to take a discount on this property, right? It's probably not. So I want you to think what strategies would apply. Could you lease option this property? Could we lease it with the option to buy? Maybe the property doesn't sell. It's been for sale for 6 months, hasn't sold. It's sitting vacant. People are making mortgage payments on a vacant property. That costs people a lot of money. So this may be a great strategy. Could you sell or finance it? Possibly. If you think about, I can get a lower price on a seller finance because the interest that I'm going to pay to the owner over time is going to far exceed whatever they're asking for it. The question is, will they wait until that day? And that's where we have to get that motivation. But another great strategy here, I can't rehab this house because if I pay full price for something, what am I doing with it? Could I rent it? Maybe, but it may not be worth it. So we have to look at the ROI. These are the two strategies that I want you to think about when you're looking at nice homes and nice neighborhoods. And then we have what's called a pre-foreclosure situation. They're getting ready to lose their home. They tried to sell, but they couldn't. And this is a perfect example of a property that we did that was in that scenario. I want you to think about what's the strategies behind somebody that's in pre-foreclosure. So they've fallen behind, they're getting further behind every single day with penalties, late payments, interest, attorney fees, etc. If this property goes to auction, they're going to lose everything. Sheriff's going to come by, kick them out of the house. They lost everything. Course damages their credit 7 to 10 years. I want you to think of what strategy, how can we help these people? The most popular strategy is going to be what we call seller finance. Make up the back payments. We're going to continue to make their monthly payment. We're then going to fix up the property, and typically we're going to sell the property. When we sell the property, it's going to pay off the existing loan, which is only going to help the owner's credit by paying that massive debt off. It's going to stop the auction process. A lot of good things are going to happen. We're going to have to hire contractors. We're going to have to close this at title companies. Attorneys are going to get paid. There's a lot of people that are involved in this transaction just by understanding the strategy. The next thing is, could we just cash out this owner? Absolutely, right? So we can, depending on where their loan balance is, if there's enough equity, after we calculate the amount of repairs, updates, selling costs, all those costs that come with buying a property, we could potentially do that as well. Now, you can't lease option this property because you can't lease it with the option to buy because it's getting ready to go to auction. Right? So they're already in debt. So that's not going to work. You could potentially wholesale this, right? Because I want you to think about this for a second. I could put a cash offer in to buy the house. Of course, we would send the contract to the bank, which would stop the auction. It's happened 100% every single time we've done that. I could then assign that contract to an investor that does have the funds, the money to come in, purchase the property, fix it up, and do something with it. But here's the key. You could also structure the seller finance agreement, make up the back payments, continue to make the monthly payments, etc., and then assign that agreement instead of the cash deal agreement. So wholesaling does come into play with pre-foreclosures. We did a very great video, Bo and I did. It's close to 700,000 views. I would encourage you to check that out if this could be a strategy you'd be interested in learning about. Multiple strategies. If you follow me, I talk about this all the time, have numerous videos on this. It's not just giving the seller one option. In every one of those scenarios, I generally gave you more than one strategy to acquire it. It wasn't just like take it or leave it approach. And I believe, and I've seen, and we've done this, is you got to give people options. When you give people options, you're going to increase your chances of getting that deal closed, period. If you go in with one offer, let's say a wholesale offer, which would be a cash discount offer, it's easier for the seller to say no. But if you create maybe a seller finance offer that has maybe a little bit higher purchase price, they can get some cash in their pocket today, they're going to think about it. So creating multiple offers is going to give the owner options. And when I can tell you, when we make multiple offers, the seller gets so confused on which offer to take, they fail to realize they didn't have to take any of them to begin with. I've seen that so many times. Gives you negotiation leverage. So when I submit multiple offers, it really shows different sales prices. It gives different ways of how we're going to pay them. And that really helps us in the negotiation. You can't negotiate if it's like, I'll give you 150 grand for it. Like, they're going to come back at 250. Like, there's not much negotiation with that, and it's usually going to end bad. But when you can provide additional offers, now you've got room to negotiate with that seller. I call it risk mitigation, as having multiple offers in play reduces the risk of missing out on opportunities. If the only thing you know is how to wholesale a house, that's all you look for. You are missing out on the big picture. If you only do it one way, this is the only way you've done it all your life, then you're missing out on opportunities out there. Those tools in the toolbox are really going to help you boost your acceptance ratio rate, which ours went up to 60% by creating multiple offers. We talked about acquiring properties, but how in the heck do you get rid of these? Now, depending on the strategy that you use to acquire will depend on your exit strategies. You could wholesale, or what we call sign that agreement. You could fix it up, sell it. You could rent the property out. You could sell or finance it if you own it. You could lease option it. You could use it as a short-term rental. You could cash out, maybe refinance this. You have a real estate investment trust, 1031 exchange. You could demolish it and build new. A lot of different exit strategies. Again, it will depend. Some of these exit strategies won't be, you can't lease option a house that you wholesale. It doesn't go together. And one of the beautiful things that Bo and I put into REI Pro is our deal analyzer, which enables you to say, okay, I'm going to acquire it with this strategy, and then I'm going to get rid of it with this strategy. And you could do it in multiple different ways to really analyze what's the best exit strategy to this strategy I just used to acquire it. There's dramatic ROI differences depending on how you sell this property, which is very interesting. Of course, marketing strategies. I just want to share with you a few marketing strategies that we all implement, my students implement, and these are strategies. Don't limit yourself to just these strategies. There's a lot of other ways to market a property and look for deals. Of course, we've all heard driving for dollars. So we're going to get in the car, we're going to drive neighborhoods. Generally, we're looking for potential vacant properties. We're looking for sale by owners. We're looking for rent by owners as well. Cold calling, we do have the skip trace capability in REI Pro. You can pull up the owner's contact information. You can pull up the nearest relative's contact information and give them a call. It's the most direct way. Some people don't like calls, so you could obviously text them as well. Direct mail, it's old school, but still works today. As you see, wherever you live, you probably get direct mail every day, right? It's either a letter or a postcard, something, people just marketing their business. Social media that we talked about, and networking, word of mouth business. If you planted your roots in a special place, you're going to be there forever. You know everybody. People know what you do. You're going to get that word of mouth business out there. But if you don't know that many people, then obviously you need to start networking. And you could do networking through your local real estate clubs, local Facebook pages, and et cetera. Bo talked about you do paid advertising as well on social media, of course, Google, and many other places that you could do paid advertising. You can do that as well. Of course, you have your website, your landing page there that can also help market your business. The things that you do, how you help people is really the key. You think about this for a second. And I say this to my students is, if you get sick, where do you go? You go to a doctor. Your car breaks down. Where do you go? You go to a mechanic. People look up those things. But where do you go if you fall behind on your monthly payments and you're going to auction? Like, where do you go? It's not like there's a phone number available. Like, that's where you need to come in. It's all about marketing. It's about those situations, about those things that happen to us on a daily basis that we have to sell. We have to let go of the property. We have to change. Something has to change. Couple cool things for our REI Pro members. We have been working on this. We've taken suggestions, which Bo and I do look at, and we try to implement those suggestions. And one of the really cool things that we have now got access to is what we call those is number one, MLS listings, which we're going to have in here. So anything that's listed online, but failed to cancel listings, we call it expired listings as well. This will be huge for 2025, folks. There are so many properties that are not selling, obvious due to high interest rates, but we have a shortage of homes, which is a quite interesting time that we're in. I've never experienced it. We have a shortage of homes, but we have properties sitting on the market. That's not normal when you have a shortage of homes. But because of the high interest rates and the cost of living, people are like, look, we're just going to have to rent for now. We got to everybody kind of runs off a monthly budget. You know how much you can afford and what you can't afford. And if the housing prices go up, you can't afford it. You have to get something smaller. There are many strategies, and a lot of these strategies don't think about just the investing side. You may be looking how to buy your next property that you want to live in. So these strategies also apply. We're also introducing a lot of new filters that's going to help you really kind of pinpoint that motivation and some new area statistics. If you're not an REI Pro subscriber, you can check us out online. It's myreipro.com. So this is coming soon. Of course, we'll keep everybody posted. Bo, I hate to say, but these are unfortunately going to be my best tips. So if you want, after I go through these, if you have any other tips, maybe that, personal experiences that you've gone through that would help other people, we would definitely want to hear those. The very first tip, and this may sound simple, it's so true. Every successful real estate investor started exactly where you are right now. It's a dream with the courage to take the next step. You have to believe in your ability to learn, grow, and overcome these challenges. Mistakes will happen, but they're just stepping stones to your success. I want you to keep taking action, stay focused, and trust that you have what it takes to build the life that you want. Tip number 2, I always say, spend 90% of your time finding deals. It's really the foundation of everything that we do in real estate investing. And with REI Pro, you've got a powerful tool in your hands giving you access to 150 million, over the 150 million mark of properties. Tip number 3, I want you to start with a clear budget. Knowing where you stand financially allows you to choose the right strategies to begin with. If you don't have that much money to start with, focus learning strategies like wholesaling and lease options. These methods require little to no upfront capital and really are excellent for building experience and generating income. For those of you that may have some funds to work with, I want you to consider strategies like seller financing and pre-foreclosures. These options are going to help really make the most of your resources while discovering unique opportunities for growth. And if you have substantial funds or access to capital, rehabbing properties might be the right path for you. This strategy is going to allow you to invest in properties, renovate them, and obviously create significant profit through resales. And again, you don't have to sell the property. There are many exit strategies when you own the property. The key takeaway here, though, is work with what you have today. I didn't have much when I got started. I just worked with what I had. My experience tells me your budget really starts with developing your knowledge base and learning systems that you can implement. And this is really where REI Pro can assist you. Tip number 4. This starts at the state level in regard to laws that may affect specific strategies. Then it moves down to your local market. It's understanding your neighborhoods, home values, rent values, current properties for sales, days on market, appreciating neighborhoods, new construction, new commercial, employment, average income, and more. And what I found out a long time ago is that if you just get out into the neighborhoods, I don't care if it's just driving around, you're going to learn a lot about what's going on in your market. Tip number 5, and Bo, this will be my last tip, is get in the trenches. That's right. Success in real estate doesn't happen from the sidelines. I want you to pick up the phone, make those calls, and start learning the systems that pave the way for big wins. Every step you take, no matter how small, get you closer to your goals. And don't be afraid to get your feet wet. I want you to dive in. The experience you gain now will build the confidence and skills needed to succeed in real estate investing. And Bo, if you have any tips that I didn't share, feel free.
Well, I think all those are fantastic tips. I'd say from my point of view, and this dawned on me here about a year ago, I was working on a business deal, and the guy said, "Hey, you know what? Can you send me over your resume?" And then I looked at my wife and I was like, after the phone call and stuff, and I was like, well, crap, I don't have a resume. I'm 50 years
Right.
old, never had a resume. So I had to put something together. So, you said earlier on, we're just self-unemployed people. And I think the number one tip that you've got there about believe you can do this, I'd say tip number 1A is don't let fear stop you from achieving what you want. Most people, I think, are followers. And I think if you really want to do this business or any business for that matter, you have to just put out the naysayers and the people who say you can't do it. And those people just bring you down and you just got to go for it, which leads you to tip number 5, which is just get in the trenches. So, It's like you can teach somebody all day long, and we can talk about this all day long. We can't force somebody to get off the couch. So you got to be a self motivator and just believe in yourself and then go do it. And then don't worry about anything else. And if you do those two things, the rest of the stuff will start to fall in place. That's
You're already on the right path.
right.
Just
You start with those two, just
it
those
all
two.
starts between the ears. It really does. A lot of it does, for sure.
Yep.
Awesome. Good tip. Those that are looking to fast track your success, I want you to imagine just having somebody guide you step by step through every single part of the process, from finding properties, negotiating skills, running the numbers, and obviously how we profit. That's exactly what my personalized coaching programs offer. And one of the things a lot of people don't realize, you work directly with me. So you're going to gain that inside knowledge and strategies tailored to your goals, not somebody else's goal, not a group session, not a coach that works for me goals, but just your goals. It's a rare but limited time opportunity because I'm the only person that's actually involved. And unfortunately, if I do the coaching, I can only take so many people at a time. So don't wait. There's my website. Schedule a free call. I do all the personal calls with you. It's about a 30-minute call. We talk about you, what you're looking at, where you live, what you want to do, what you currently do, and how can we make this work for you or not work for you. It's so important if you're that person, that go-getter that doesn't need to be told to get off the couch. This could be a very good opportunity for you. So there's my website. You can go to coaching and then schedule a call with me. Obviously, we talked about setting up your business. It's really step one. Outside of the first step of saying, get out of my way, this is what I'm going to do. Because that was me, and I get it. As you get older, it's like the responsibilities and kids and family that sometimes when you're older, you need to act like you're a kid again. Because you remember when you were a kid, like you had no fear. Like, get out of my way, I'm going to do this. But somewhere between being a kid and an adult, something happened to us. But you really do need to act like that kid. But that's where it starts. Obviously, the physical things you need to do is set up your business and then create a schedule. This has been super, super helpful for all of my students, is knowing what to do. Set up an REI Pro account. I want you to start with 2 strategies. You're just getting started. Start with 2 strategies. There's only 4 at the end of the day. Eventually, I want you to master all 4, but start with 2 strategies that maybe kind of hit home with you that you could see yourself doing, because I think you'll be a lot more motivated to learn it and to actually take action. Start marketing. We gave you some marketing tips there. Of course, REI Pro can help you with that. And really, you got to do what others won't. Taking action is really what sets successful investors apart. Many people hesitate, waiting for the perfect moment, but opportunities don't wait. And by doing what others won't, making that first call or analyzing deals or stepping out of that comfort zone, you're going to position yourself to succeed in so many ways only, others dream of. Real estate rewards those who take initiative. So start today and build that momentum that others really do miss out on. I wanted to share something with you because people ask me, and this is just one thing that I do, but it is like the top of the list thing that I do to find that deal. Here's something that I personally do now. And I want to share that with you. It's not just talking about what you should be doing. I'm going to share with you what we're doing. One of the best things that I like to do to find properties is going to Lead Pro. And you can see the 2 check boxes that I have here. It's absentee owners and vacant. This is what we call stacking your list in REI Pro. Both of these have to meet, right? So it has to be vacant, but it also has to be an absentee owner at the exact same time. Once I search for that in a particular area, there are obviously, you could go bedrooms, bath, equity, and all that stuff, but I really want you to look at the last sold date. Anywhere between the years 2019, 2021. This is super important for an investor like me that is looking for the potential of seller financing a property. These years right here are the lowest interest rates we've had in history. If I could find those properties, and as you can see, it knocked it down to 52. If I can find those properties, sure, could we pay cash? Absolutely. If it's a motivated seller, they need to cash out, got it. But this leaves the door open for seller financing. If I could seller finance a property and take over, or even a pre-foreclosure in this market at a 3% interest rate, I am more likely going to generate way more cash flow. If you go to the bank today and get a 6.5%, 7.5% interest rate, you probably won't cash flow because the rent value is going to be a lot less than that mortgage payment. But these years, I don't even think we're ever going to see these interest rates again. And I say that because it's never happened before. People are just going to have to start getting used to, if we can get down to 5%, that would be great. If we can go under 5, that's super great. I don't think we're going to see those low interest rates ever again. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but it's never happened before except those years. So 19 to 21, and then it went haywire after that. If you can find properties within that time frame, and that's not long ago, folks, you're going to have that low interest rate. If we can structure a seller finance, a great opportunity. It's definitely something we do. It's something I teach my students to do. There are many other things that we do, but this is one of my favorites outside of pre-foreclosures. Hey, thanks for watching. If you learned something new, please smash that like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We also did some live Q&A. If you want to hear those questions, continue watching this video. Check it out.
We do have a couple of questions coming in here. I'll answer the first one. Sherry out of Texas says, just getting started. Should I focus more on lease options or seller finance?
If you're in Texas, seller finance. Lease Options has a House bill that was written, I think it was 2007. It puts restrictions on lease options. People still do it in Texas. Trust, that's where I started, was Texas. Texas is perfect for seller financing. Absolute home run for seller financing.
John, Florida, are condos good to invest in? What's the best strategy? I'm on the coast.
You know, I just put a video. If you go to our TikTok page, YouTube page as well, I put a video on this last week. And those of you, and it doesn't have to be in Florida, but because we're in Florida, we're going to talk about it as if you're in Florida, but this could be anywhere. 3 years ago, when that condo collapsed outside Miami area, the inspectors are now going to all of the older condominium complexes. They're having to do multiple inspections now. It has increased HOA cost. And I talked to a realtor in Northwest Florida, Panama City area. 50% of the properties that are listed for sale are condos. 100%. Because here's what's going to happen. People, if you can't sell a property, what happens? You become motivated. You drop the price. If it doesn't sell, what do? You drop it again. If it doesn't sell, what do? That's the question right there. If you could introduce some of these strategies, what you could do, all of these strategies that I talked about in Florida, I would approach from a seller finance position. I would look at maybe short-term rental as an exit strategy, or just a normal rental as an exit strategy. Again, running the numbers in REI Pro is going to help you evaluate that. I would 100%, because when people are running away from like the high HOAs and condos, that's where I want to jump in, because that's where problems are going to be. And I hate to say it that way, but we fix problems in real estate. This isn't the old school way. If I'm going to buy your house and we're going to rent it out, like, you have to be creative in this world, especially in 2025. You could potentially lease option the property as well. I would 100% be in. I will personally be looking into more condos. Again, I have to find the right situation. But here's the thing with real estate. You don't have to do 100 a month to do well, right? I mean, you really don't. You don't have to do that many deals. If you're buying it right, doing the right things with the right exit strategy, you're going to do fine. You don't have to do a lot. If you want to do a lot, you have the ability, you have the knowledge, the know-how, the systems in place to do well. So absolute yes on condos.
Randy, New York, if someone has a current mortgage, can I still do a seller finance deal?
Yes, that's a popular question. Most likely, well, you think about this. Everybody in pre-foreclosure has a mortgage, right? Almost 99% of the time we sell or finance those. There's what we call a due on sale clause in every mortgage that basically says this: if you deed the property over without the bank's permission, meaning you didn't qualify with that bank, they could call the loan due, meaning we want the balance of the loan, by next week type of thing. Banks don't do that. it's not even financially responsible if payments are on time. That whole mess that happened back in 2008 obviously regulated a lot of mortgages and some rules and things, but seller finance happens every day, and the majority of those seller finances have mortgages. Now, here's the cool part. There's a seller finance strategy called contract for deed, or what we call land contract. I wouldn't prefer you to go this route, but it's an option if you don't want to trigger the due on sale clause, which isn't really anything common anyways. It's extremely rare that a bank would ever do that because they can't take back property. A contract for deed is kind of similar to a car. Like, you don't really own it till you pay it off type of thing, but you have what's called equitable interest in it. And that gives you the right to, just like a car, you have the right to drive it. You could put a stereo system, change the tires, you can do whatever you want, paint it, all those things. It's the same thing. And so the deed would still be in the owner's name, but you have taken possession of the property, and you could utilize that in various different ways. You could rent it out, short-term rental, do whatever you want with that because you have the contract on paper. Plus, a contract for deed is structured as a seller finance. The purchase price, interest rate, gives you a principal interest payment. You'd be paying the taxes, insurance, HOAs, all that stuff. So it gives you all of those rights if you don't want to trigger the due on sale clause. So it's a great strategy if you want to avoid that.
Geo, California, real estate's expensive here. Is lease options good for this area?
Yeah, lease options are great for that particular area because of exactly what you just said. It's like, if we joke about this, Bo, it's like you can't even buy a bathroom in California for $100,000, right?
Right.
I mean, we joke about it, but it's true, right? California is expensive. There's other very expensive places in the US as well, but not like an entire state like California, right? Lease options, and I want people to go back, take a step back. Remember what I talked about was the most important thing. It was the situation of the owner too. That's a key pivotal time that we have to negotiate whatever strategy should apply. Lease options, seller financing, wholesaling, those strategies are all going to apply in California. But when you're working with nice homes, nice neighborhoods, kind of a higher price point, lease options are going to do well and seller finance is going to do well.
Steve, Georgia, if I seller finance a property, can I seller finance it back out to someone else? And if so, what's a good interest rate or a max interest rate?
Yes, the answer is yes, you can do that. So if I seller finance it from the owner, I could turn around and seller finance it back out to a new buyer. You could do that. The interest rate is something you have to run the numbers on. If you're buying $1 million property at a 10%, no one's going to be able to afford the monthly payment at that price point. So you do have to, but if you had a $100,000 property, you could probably charge 10%. I don't go that high on the interest rates. Of course, I want you to think, I want to go as low as I possibly can with the owner, number one. And I want to make it manageable for the buyer. So once you have a ARV, you know what the property's worth, we need to figure out where that monthly payment is going to be comfortable for someone. Because obviously you don't want to sell or finance the property out and then 3 months later they can't make the payments. Also, I wouldn't sell or finance it traditionally by deeding the property to them. I would get the deed from the owner, but I don't want to give it away. And I would do a contract for deed with a new buyer if I were to do seller finance both ways. But you do need to run the numbers to make sure where that monthly payment, because if I know the ARVs here, if I put 4% interest, my monthly payment is this. If I put 6% interest, my monthly payment is that. And it's going to affect it. So you do need to run the numbers. We do have in REI Pro, we actually have a seller finance offer formula. You just got to input the numbers. We give you the summary. It's kind of simple, actually, once you're in there and have the tools to help you calculate that. So I would recommend that.
Bobby from Tennessee, in a lease option, what happens if the tenant doesn't pay me? How do I get them out if needed?
The good thing is it's called an eviction versus if you deeded a property like seller finance, it would be a foreclosure. Just keep that in mind. So the eviction process, obviously you could do a 3-day eviction process, or, it could be 30 days, again, depending on the situation. I always say you want to try to leave this as pleasant as possible because you don't want them to tear up the home, right? If they tear up the home, it doesn't put you in a really good position with the owner. because now you're kind of stuck in the middle of this lease option. I think a big thing is it really does relate to this, Bo, like we talk about working with a local mortgage broker to get with the buyers of lease options to really not just qualify them, but to put them on a roadmap that they're going to be able to buy it. They're in a position to buy it. And I think that's kind of the first prevention part, is to do that. But if they stop paying you, there's a good bad to this. The bad part is you got to evict them and get them out of the house as pleasant as possible. You may have to go clean the carpets. You may have to touch up some paint. The good side to this is that now, because that down payment, or what we call option payment, is non-refundable, you then can find another buyer to take that person's place, and all of that down payment would be profit. Or you would have to take part of that down payment, put it back into the property for cleaning purposes and so forth. So it could be a good, bad thing. Obviously, when people don't pay, it could, most people say that's a bad thing. But if you put another buyer in, get another 10 or 15,000 down on the property and start that process over again, you just made more money.
Last question I see is Heather from Florida. Can I sell or finance a property, then do a lease option as an exit strategy?
Absolutely. I want you to think of this. If you own the property, either by cashing the seller out, you get the deed. If you sell or finance the house, you get the deed, unless you do a contract for deed, which wouldn't be common, but it could be. When you have the deed to the property, every single exit strategy is at play for you, which is great. Let me tell you why this is great. If renting the property doesn't work, like you put a for rent sign out there, but nobody wants the property, you have multiple other ways to get rid of it or make money with it, we'll say. Not necessarily get rid of it, but make money with it. Maybe you use that as a short-term rental. Maybe you do a lease option. Maybe you sell or finance it back out. It gives you multiple ways to multiple ways to make money with the property. Let me say it that way. That's a home run strategy for anybody in any state, by the way, for 2025 would be seller finance.
Absolutely. And I've done numerous of them.